The ground shook again, and Lena Wright pressed her hand against the cave wall to keep her balance. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and somewhere deep below, rocks crashed against each other. This planet was falling apart piece by piece. She adjusted the light on her helmet and moved deeper into the tunnel. The rest of her team had already left this section. Too dangerous, they said, not worth the risk. But Lena had seen something on the scanner before the last quake hit. Something alive. Her boots crunched on broken crystals. This whole planet was made of them. Great forests of glass and stone that sang in the wind. Beautiful and deadly. The mining company wanted those crystals. They were worth more than gold back on Earth. Nobody asked what happened to the things that lived here. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber, and Lena stopped. Her light fell on them. 6 small creatures lay in a circle, their bodies pressed close together. They looked like drawings from old books, the kind with knights and castles. Dragons, that was the only word that fit. They had wings folded against scaled bodies, long necks, and faces that seemed too wise for something so small. Around them, partially buried under fallen rocks, were 2 larger shapes. Adults. Dead. Lena moved closer, careful not to make sudden movements. The little ones were breathing, but barely. Their sides rose and fell in a rhythm that seemed wrong, too slow and too deep. One of them opened an eye as she approached. The eye was gold like melted sun, and it looked at her with such sadness that Lena felt her chest tighten. She touched her radio. "This is right. I found something. Cave system, section 7. I need help down here." Static answered her, then a voice. "Commander Davies." "Right, we're pulling out. Another quake is coming, bigger than the last. Get back to the ship. There are creatures here. They're alive. We can't just leave them. We have our mission parameters, Doctor. Those things aren't part of it. Return to the ship." "That's an order." Lena looked at the 6 small dragons. They were watching her now, all of them. Their gold eyes reflected her helmet light. "I'm not leaving them. Right, don't be stupid. We don't have resources for rescue operations. We're barely on schedule as it is. Then leave me here. Send the ship back later." A long silence, then Davies again, anger clear in his voice. "You have 2 hours. After that, we launch with or without you." The radio went dead. 2 hours. Lena looked around the chamber. The adult dragons had been building something before they died. A nest, maybe, though it looked more like a shrine. Pieces of crystal arranged in patterns, each one carefully placed. The little ones lay in the center of these patterns. Lena knelt beside the nearest hatchling. It was smaller than the others, its scales a deep blue that shifted to purple in the light. She reached out slowly, letting it see her hand. The creature didn't move away. Instead, it made a sound, not with its mouth. The sound came from inside it, a vibration that Lena felt more than heard. It passed through the ground, through her bones, settling somewhere behind her heart. The other 5 took up the sound, creating a harmony that had no melody. It was the saddest thing Lena had ever heard. She pulled off her glove and touched the blue dragon's head. Its scales were warm, warmer than they should be. The vibration grew stronger. Lena had studied animal behavior for 15 years. She had worked with creatures from a dozen worlds, learned their languages and their ways. This was mourning. These little ones were crying for their dead parents, locked in a grief that had no end because nobody had taught them how to finish it. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." The dragons didn't stop their terrible song. Why would they? She was just another alien in a universe that didn't care. But she cared. That had always been her problem, according to the others. Too soft, too emotional, not practical. Davies had told her once that space wasn't for people with hearts. Maybe he was right. Maybe that's why everything out here was so broken. Lena sat down fully, cross-legged on the cold stone. She had 2 hours. She couldn't carry 6 dragons back to the ship, even small ones. Davies wouldn't let them on board anyway. Corporate wouldn't pay for extra cargo that didn't turn a profit. She knew how this worked, so she did the only thing she could think of. She started to hum. It was a song her grandmother had taught her, back when Lena was small enough to fit in her lap. A lullaby about stars and sleep and peace. Simple words, simple tune. Nothing special. But it was all she had. The blue dragon's vibration faltered. Just for a moment, but Lena felt it. She kept humming, adding words now, soft and low. The other dragons turned their heads toward her. Their own sounds began to change, shifting in pitch, matching her rhythm. It shouldn't work. These were alien creatures with alien minds. They couldn't possibly understand human music. But grief, Lena thought, grief might be universal. The sound of someone saying, "I see you, I know you hurt, you're not alone." She sang until her throat was raw. The dragons grew quiet one by one until only the blue one continued its vibration. Then it too fell silent. It crawled closer to Lena and rested its head on her knee. Her radio crackled. "Right, time's up. We're launching in 10 minutes. Lena looked at the 6 dragons. They were all watching her now with those gold eyes. Waiting. Trusting. She thought about her career, her reputation, her future. She thought about all the rules she had followed her whole life. Then she scooped up the blue dragon and stood. "Can any of you walk?" she asked the others. They rose on shaky legs, wings dragging on the ground. They were weak, starving probably, but they moved toward her. "Okay," Lena said. "Okay, we're going to figure this out." She started toward the tunnel, 6 baby dragons following behind her like a strange parade. She had no plan. No idea what would happen when she reached the ship, but she was done leaving things to die alone in the dark. The ground shook again as they walked. Lena counted steps, counted heartbeats, counted the small mercy of having found them in time. Behind her, the blue dragon began to hum, a sound like her lullaby but different, transformed into something new. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. 3 days had passed since Lena smuggled 6 baby dragons onto the research ship. She kept them in her quarters, telling Davies they were geological samples that needed special care. He didn't believe her, but he also didn't ask questions. Not yet. The dragons were growing. Not slowly, like normal animals, but fast enough that Lena could see the difference each morning. The blue one, which she privately called River, was now the size of a house cat. The others weren't far behind. Lena sat on her floor surrounded by equipment and notebooks. She had barely slept, spending every hour trying to understand the sounds the dragons made. They weren't random. There were patterns, repetitions, responses, language. She was sure of it now. River sat beside her, watching as she worked. Every few minutes the dragon would hum, a low frequency that made Lena's water glass ripple. She hummed back, trying to match the pitch. River tilted its head, considering, then hummed a different note. "You're teaching me," Lena said softly. "Aren't you?" The dragon's gold eyes seemed to say yes. A knock on her door made Lena jump. She quickly threw a blanket over the dragons, though it was pointless. 6 lumps under a blanket were hardly subtle. "Come in." Neil Foster entered, carrying a datapad. He was the ship's linguist, a thin man with kind eyes and too much curiosity for his own good. He looked at the blanket, at Lena's guilty face, and sighed. "How many?" "6. Lord help us. Davies is going to space you." "Probably." Neil sat down carefully, making himself small and non-threatening. One of the dragons poked its head out from under the blanket. Green scales, copper eyes. It studied Neil with clear intelligence. "Hello there," Neil said quietly. "I'm not going to hurt you." The dragon emerged fully, followed by the others. They arranged themselves in a semicircle, facing Neil like students before a teacher. "They've been making sounds," Lena said. "Complex ones. I've been recording everything, trying to find patterns." Neil pulled out a small speaker and connected it to his pad. "Play me something." Lena selected a file. The dragon's vibrations filled the small room, deep and resonant. Neil closed his eyes, listening. After a moment, he started to nod. "It's harmonic. Multiple layers. See, there's a base frequency, but on top of that, there are variations that create meaning, like tones in Mandarin, but more complex. Much more complex." He opened his eyes, looking at Lena with wonder. "This is language. Real structured language. Do you understand what this means? That they're sentient. That this is first contact. Official, documented first contact with an intelligent species." Neil's excitement faded. "Which also means we have about 100 regulations we're breaking right now." River moved closer to Lena and pressed against her leg. The other dragons did the same, creating a protective circle around her. They knew something was wrong. They could sense her fear. "The company already knows," Lena said quietly. "I saw the transmission logs. Davies sent a report. They're calling the dragons specimens of interest. They want them transported to a research facility." "When?" "A ship is coming. 2 days, maybe less." Neil was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to Lena's computer. His fingers flew across the keyboard, typing codes and passwords. "What are you doing?" Lena asked. looking at what happens to specimens of interest. He pulled up files, classified documents that he definitely shouldn't have access to. Images appeared on the screen. Labs, cages, creatures in various states of distress. They'll separate them, Neil said. Test them individually. See how they respond to isolation, to pain, to fear. It's standard procedure for understanding biological systems. He closed the files. Those aren't biological systems, Lena. Those are children. Orphaned children, River hummed, a sound that Lena now recognized as distress. The other dragons took up the call, their voices creating a harmony of anxiety. I know, Lena said. She started humming back the lullaby that had worked before. Slowly, the dragons quieted. I'm not letting them take you, she told them. I promise. You can't fight the company, Neil said. Nobody can. Then I'll run. Where? We're in deep space. There's nowhere to go. Lena looked at River, at those gold eyes that held more understanding than any animal's should. I know someone. Old friend. He owes me. Neil raised an eyebrow. What kind of friend? The kind who doesn't ask questions. They sat in silence as the weight of that settled. Running meant giving up everything. Her career, her reputation, maybe her freedom. The company didn't forgive theft, and 6 alien specimens would count as grand theft at minimum. But the alternative was watching these creatures suffer in a lab, watching their grief turned into data points and their intelligence reduced to test results. Lena had spent her life studying alien life. She knew what happened in those facilities. She had written reports, filed papers, told herself it was necessary for science. She couldn't do it anymore. I need a communication channel, she said. Private, encrypted. Neil hesitated, then nodded. I can set that up. But Lena, if you do this, there's no coming back. They'll hunt you. The company has reach everywhere. I know. They'll call you a criminal. I know. You'll lose everything. Lena looked at the 6 dragons arranged around her, these impossible creatures that hummed songs of grief and looked at her with trust. Not everything, she said. River crawled into her lap, warm and solid. The dragon began to hum again, but this time it was different. Not grief, not distress. Something else. Something that sounded almost like hope. Lena joined the song, her human voice weaving with the dragon's alien harmonies. Neil watched them. These 2 species that shouldn't be able to understand each other, creating music together. I'll help you, he said finally. Whatever you need. Why? Because someone has to. Neil smiled sadly. And because I've spent my whole life translating languages. I know what it means when someone is begging for help. That's what they were doing, wasn't it? In that cave, they were calling for someone to witness their grief. Yes. And you answered. The dragons hummed their agreement, a chorus of voices that filled the small room with sound. Lena felt tears on her face and didn't wipe them away. She had answered. And now she would face whatever came next. Through the walls, she could hear the ship's engines driving them through space. 2 days until the company arrived. 2 days to plan an impossible escape. 2 days to save 6 lives that the universe had deemed worthless. But Lena had learned something in that cave. Every life had worth. Every grief deserved a witness. And sometimes the right thing to do was also the hardest thing to do. She would do it anyway. River looked up at her and hummed a single, pure note. Lena hummed it back, and for a moment they were perfectly in tune. The dust storm hit at exactly the right time. Pure luck, or maybe something else. Lena had stopped believing in coincidence 3 days ago when the dragon started showing her images in her dreams. She ran through the ship's cargo bay, 6 cryogenic containers floating behind her on a hover cart. Inside each one, a dragon slept in suspended animation. It was the only way to move them without being seen. The only way to keep them safe during transport. Neil appeared from a side corridor, breathing hard. Security is at your quarters. Davies knows you're running. How long do I have? Minutes. Maybe less. They reached the airlock. Beyond it, through the swirling red dust, Lena could see the outline of another ship, smaller than the research vessel, built for speed rather than science. The Wandering Star. You should come with me, Lena said. Neil shook his head. Someone needs to stay and slow them down. Besides, I've got family waiting at home. You don't. It was true, and it hurt to hear. Lena had given everything to her work. Now her work was what she was running from. The airlock opened. Wind and dust screamed into the bay, red particles coating everything. Lena pushed the hover cart forward, fighting against the storm. Behind her, she heard shouting, "Security, go!" Neil yelled. He hit a button on the wall and emergency barriers started to descend slow and loud, buying her seconds. Precious seconds. Lena reached the Wandering Star's ramp. A man stood at the top, outlined against the ship's lights. Owen Briggs. She hadn't seen him in 4 years, not since she testified at his court-martial. He had been a military pilot then, decorated and respected. Then he refused an order to bomb a settlement. Children lived there, he said. The military said enemy combatants. He said children. They broke him for that choice. Now he moved cargo between worlds, legal and otherwise, and didn't ask questions about either. "You look terrible," Owen said as she reached him. "You look the same." Is that a compliment? Maybe. He helped her pull the hovercart inside. The ramp closed behind them, sealing out the storm. Through the small window, Lena saw security reaching the airlock. "Too late. We need to go," she said. "Now." Owen ran to the cockpit. Lena strapped down the cryogenic containers and then herself. The ship lifted, engines roaring. Something hit the hull. "Weapons fire! They're shooting at us!" Lena yelled. "No kidding." Owen banked hard, using the dust storm for cover. More impacts rattled the ship. "What did you steal, Lena? Please tell me it's not weapons." "Better. There's nothing better than weapons to make people shoot at you. They're children. Alien children." Owen glanced back at her, then at the containers. "You're joking." "I'm really not." He turned back to the controls, swearing under his breath. The ship climbed higher, breaking through the storm into clear air. Behind them, the research vessel was turning, preparing to follow. "We can't outrun them," Owen said. "This ship is fast, but they've got military-grade engines." Lena closed her eyes, thinking. The dragons had been showing her things. Memories, maybe, or dreams. Images of vast spaces between stars, of paths only they could see. She didn't understand it, but she trusted it. "Head for the nebula. The veil? Are you insane? We'll lose all navigation in there." "Trust me." Owen looked at her for a long moment. Then he changed course, pushing the engines to maximum. The ship screamed through atmosphere, chasing the edge of space. Behind them, Davy's voice came through the radio. "Right, stop this nonsense. You're only making it worse for yourself." Lena picked up the transmitter. "The dragons are sentient. They have language, culture, grief rituals. What you're planning to do to them is wrong. What we're planning is science. You're letting emotion cloud your judgment. No, I'm letting empathy guide it. There's a difference. Bring them back and we can discuss this. There are procedures for first contact situations. Those procedures end with them in cages. I've seen the files." Static filled the line. Then Davies again, colder this time. "You're making yourself an enemy of the company, Doctor. That's not a position you want to be in. I'm making myself an enemy of cruelty. That's exactly the position I want." She cut the transmission. Owen smiled despite everything. "You always were stubborn. You say that like it's a bad thing. It got me court-martialed and saved a village full of children." "Fair point." They entered the veil, and everything went dark. The nebula was thick with particles and radiation, impossible to navigate using standard instruments. Ships that entered it rarely came out. There were stories of ghost vessels floating in the void, crews dead at their stations, lost forever. But Lena felt something pulling at her, a direction that wasn't visible but was somehow clear. The dragons were waking up. She could feel them in her mind, their voices not quite thoughts but close to it. They were showing her the way. "Turn left," she said. 15 degrees. There's nothing on sensors." "I know. Turn anyway." Owen obeyed, though she could see him grip the controls tighter. They flew blind through purple clouds and electric storms, the ship shaking with every turbulent pocket. "Up," Lena said. "Straight up. This is insane." Yes, the ship climbed. The shaking got worse. Something exploded in the cargo bay, a small fire that Owen put out with emergency systems. But they kept going, following a map that existed only in Lena's head, given to her by creatures she had known for less than a week. Then they were through. Clear space opened up before them, stars bright and close. Behind them, the veil swirled like a purple wall, impenetrable from the outside. "How did you do that?" Owen asked quietly. "I didn't." They did. She went to the cargo bay and opened the first container. River emerged, scales shimmering in the ship's light. The dragon had grown again. Now it was the size of a large dog, wings fully formed and functional. It looked at Lena and hummed. She hummed back the song they had created together. The other containers opened and 5 more dragons emerged. They stood together, looking at her with those gold eyes that held so much understanding. "Thank you," Lena whispered. River pressed its head against her hand. Images flooded Lena's mind. Not dreams this time, but memories. She saw a world of crystal forests. She saw dragons flying in great flocks, their songs filling the air. She saw humans arriving in ships. She saw explosions, caves collapsing, families dying. She saw the truth. The mining operation had caused the earthquake. The company knew. They had always known. The dragons weren't just casualties of progress. They were victims of murder. Lena fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The dragons surrounded her, humming together, their voices creating a harmony that was somehow comforting despite everything. River climbed into her lap, too big now, but she made room. The dragon hummed directly into her chest, and Lena felt the vibration settle into her bones. Owen appeared in the doorway, staring at the dragons. "They're beautiful. They're the last ones. Of their clan, at least. Maybe of their entire species. Because of us. Yes." Owen sat down beside her, keeping distance from the dragons but not from Lena. "What do we do now?" "I don't know. Find somewhere safe. Try to make this right somehow. You can't bring back the dead." "No. But I can make sure these ones live." The dragons hummed their agreement, a sound like wind through crystal forests, like hope in the darkness, like the beginning of something new. The asteroid spun slowly in the dark, covered in metal structures that looked like they had been grown rather than built. Haven Station, home to anyone running from something. Refuge for those who needed disappearing. Owen guided the wandering star toward a docking port, gentle and careful. The ship had taken damage during their escape. One engine was barely functioning and half the environmental systems were offline. They had been lucky to make it this far. "You sure about this place?" Lena asked. "As sure as I can be about anything out here. Mother Iris doesn't ask questions and she doesn't answer them either. That's the whole point." The docking clamps engaged with a heavy thud. Lena looked back at the cargo bay where the dragons waited. They had grown again during the journey. River was now the size of a small horse, wings strong enough to lift its body. The others were close behind. They were changing so fast that Lena worried she would wake up one day and find them fully grown, ready to leave, ready to be alone again. The airlock opened, and a woman stood on the other side. She was old, with skin like weathered leather and eyes that had seen too much. Gray hair fell past her shoulders in a single thick braid. She wore practical clothes, a pilot's jacket covered in patches from 100 different stations. "Owen Briggs," she said. Her voice was rough like gravel and smoke. "Thought you were dead. Tried that. Didn't take." She smiled, then looked at Lena. "Who's this?" "Friend. Needs help." "Everyone who comes here needs help." "What kind?" Lena stepped forward. "The kind where a corporation wants to kill me." "Which one?" "Stellar Mining Group." Mother Iris whistled low. "Big player." "What did you do?" "Stole their specimens. I don't deal in black market biologics, and they're not specimens. They're people. Just not human people." The old woman's eyes narrowed. She looked past Lena into the cargo bay. "Show me." Lena brought her inside. The 6 dragons were arranged in their usual circle, humming softly to each other. They looked up when Mother Iris entered, gold eyes bright and alert. The old woman stopped moving. Her face went pale. "No," she whispered. "It can't be. You've seen them before?" Lena asked. 40 years ago. Different world, different circumstances." Mother Iris moved closer, slow and respectful. "They were refugees then, too. Running from human expansion. We gave them supplies, pointed them toward empty space." She knelt down and River approached her carefully. "I never thought I'd see your kind again." River hummed a complex sound that made the air vibrate. Mother Iris listened, her expression changing from shock to understanding to deep sadness. "You can understand them?" Lena asked. "Bits, pieces. I'm out of practice." Mother Iris stood up. "They say their clan is gone. They say you sang for them when no one else would. They say you're family now." Lena felt her throat tighten. "I just did what anyone would do." "No, you did what almost no one does." Mother Iris walked toward the door. "Come with me. We need to talk." They went to a small office deep inside the station. The walls were covered in maps and photographs, faces of people from a dozen different species. Mother Iris poured 3 glasses of something that looked like whiskey but smelled like flowers. There's a network, she said. Has been for decades. Humans who help dragons hide. We call ourselves witnesses. It's not official, not organized. Just people who decided genocide was wrong no matter what the corporations say. How many dragons are left? Lena asked. Maybe a few thousand. Scattered across 100 worlds. They hide in places humans haven't reached yet, but we always catch up. Always expand. Always need more resources. She took a drink. They were spacefaring once, you know. Had technology that made ours look like stone tools, but they gave it up. Why? Because they learned that building weapons leads to using them. They chose peace instead. Been running ever since. Owen leaned forward. If there's a network, why haven't they fought back? They clearly have the ability. Because fighting means becoming what they hate. Violence leads to more violence, and eventually you forget why you were fighting in the first place. So they run and we help them, and we hope that someday humans will be better. That's a lot of hope, Lena said. It's all we have. They sat in silence for a moment. Then alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed along the corridor outside. Mother Iris checked a screen on her desk. We have visitors. 3 corporate security vessels. They're demanding we hand you over. How did they find us? Owen demanded. Trackers, probably. They always have trackers. The old woman started typing commands. I can hold them off for a while, but not forever. They're threatening to destroy the station if we harbor fugitives. Lena stood up. I'll go. I won't let innocent people die for me. Sit down, Mother Iris said firmly. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. Nobody threatens my station. But Lena could see the fear in her eyes. The corporate ships had weapons, serious weapons. Haven Station was barely held together with tape and prayer. It wouldn't survive a real assault. There has to be another way, Owen said. River appeared in the doorway, followed by the other 5 dragons. They had left the ship, navigating the station on their own. River walked up to Lena and pressed its head against her chest, humming urgently. Images filled Lena's mind. Not memories this time, but something else. A signal. A call going out into the deep dark. A response coming back. They're calling for help, Lena said softly. From who? Mother Iris asked. From others like them. The old woman's eyes widened. The Ark. It's real? What Ark? Stories we heard. Rumors. A ship full of dragon refugees hiding somewhere in the Vale. We thought it was a legend. River hummed again, stronger this time. The other dragons joined their voice to it, creating a sound that shook the walls. It was a song, Lena realized. Not grief, not mourning. This was a call home, and somewhere in the darkness something was answering. Owen pointed at the screen. You're going to want to see this. A new contact had appeared on the sensors. Something massive emerging from the Vale like a ghost. It was bigger than the corporate ships, bigger than Haven Station itself. The design was nothing like human engineering, all curves and spirals, grown rather than built. The Ark, Mother Iris breathed. The corporate ships immediately changed formation, weapons powering up. A voice came through the station's communications. Unknown vessel, identify yourself or be fired upon. No response. The Ark simply moved forward, graceful and inevitable. They're going to attack it, Lena said. We have to warn them. They know, Mother Iris said. Dragons always know. The corporate ships opened fire. Bright lines of energy cut through space, striking the Ark's hull. The massive vessel didn't even slow down. Its surface rippled where the shots hit like water disturbed by rain, then reformed. Undamaged. Shields? Owen asked. Something better. That hull is alive. Biological. It heals. The Ark reached the station and positioned itself between Haven and the corporate ships, protecting them. The corporate commander's voice came through again, angry now. This is your final warning. Move aside or be destroyed. Still no response from the Ark. But Lena felt something in her mind. A presence vast and old. Words that weren't quite words formed in her thoughts. We do not fight. We do not kill. But we do not abandon our own. She realized the dragons could sense it too. All 6 of them had stopped humming, listening to something only they could hear. The corporate ships fired again. Everything they had. The Ark's hull absorbed the assault, barely rippling. Then something changed. The Ark began to sing. It was like the dragon's harmony, but multiplied 1,000 times. The sound wasn't just heard, but felt. A vibration that passed through everything. The corporate ships shuddered, their weapons powering down. Not from damage, but from the song itself. It's interfering with their systems, Mother Iris said in awe. The frequency is disrupting their electronics. The corporate ships began to drift, dead in space. No weapons, no engines, no life support. For a moment, Lena feared the Ark had killed them. Then the song changed, became gentler. The ship's systems flickered back to life, just enough to keep the crews alive. A warning. A demonstration of power tempered by mercy. The corporate commander's voice came through one last time, quieter now. Retreat. All ships retreat. They limped away into the dark, broken but alive. The Ark continued its song, beautiful and terrible, until they were gone. The inside of the Ark was like walking through a living creature. The walls curved and pulsed with soft light, and the air smelled of growing things. Plants that Lena didn't recognize grew from the ceiling in spirals. Water ran in streams along channels in the floor, going places she couldn't imagine. River walked beside her, wings folded but ready. The other 5 followed close behind. They were excited, humming to each other in voices that had grown deeper as their bodies grew larger. They knew this place somehow, remembered it even though they had never been here before. An old dragon waited in what looked like a garden. It was enormous, 3 times the size of the adult dragons that had died in the cave. Its scales were silver with age, and its wings looked too delicate to carry such weight. But its eyes were sharp, gold like all the others, and when it looked at Lena, she felt seen in a way that made her both terrified and calm. "Welcome, singer," the dragon said. Its voice came directly into Lena's mind, clear as speech but richer. "I am called the eldest. I speak for those who remember." Lena tried to respond out loud, but the dragon made a gentle sound. "You may think at me, I will hear." Lena focused, imagining her words as if she was speaking them. "You saved us." "Thank you. We saved our children. You are the one who kept them alive until we could arrive." The eldest moved closer, lowering its great head. "May I see your memories?" "How?" "Touch your forehead to mine." Lena hesitated, then stepped forward. She pressed her head against the dragon's scaled brow. It was warm, like sun-baked stone. Images rushed between them. The eldest saw everything. The cave, the dead parents, the morning song that had no end. Lena's choice to stay, to sing, to run. The escape, the journey, the fear. But the eldest shared memories too. Lena saw the history of the dragons, thousands of years flowing past like a river. They had been explorers once, traveling between stars in great flocks. They had found other species, learned their languages, shared their songs. They had been teachers, diplomats, friends. Then they met a species that wanted their technology, their resources, their home. War came, the dragons fled rather than fight. They had been fleeing ever since. Humans weren't the first. They wouldn't be the last. The eldest pulled back and Lena stumbled. River caught her, strong enough now to support her weight. "You carry grief," the eldest said. "Not just for our children, but for what your people did. We killed them. My expedition. We were mining, and we didn't check carefully enough. We didn't care enough." Lena felt tears on her face. "I didn't know. But I should have. I should have looked. Ignorance is not innocence. But neither is it malice." The eldest settled onto the ground, arranging its wings. "You chose to see when you could have looked away. You chose to sing when you could have been silent. That choice matters. It doesn't bring them back. No, but it changes what comes next." River and the other 5 dragons moved to stand before the eldest. They hummed together, a formal sound. The eldest hummed back, and Lena felt the exchange of meaning even though she couldn't understand the words. "They tell me you sang a human song for them," the eldest said. "They tell me it was beautiful. It was just a lullaby. Something my grandmother taught me. It was grief meeting grief. That is never just anything." The eldest looked at her with those ancient eyes. "Why did you sing for them, human? You could have walked away. You could have saved yourself." Lena thought about that. She had asked herself the same question 100 times during the escape. "Because no one else would," she said finally. "Because leaving them alone felt wrong in a way I couldn't ignore. Because maybe if someone had sung for my grandmother when she died, she wouldn't have been so alone at the end." The eldest was quiet for a long time. Then it began to hum, a deep sound that made the air vibrate. Other dragons appeared from corridors and chambers, dozens of them, all sizes and colors. They joined the song, adding their voices until the whole ark rang with harmony. "This is the song we sing for those who witness grief," the eldest said. "You are witness. You are singer. You are kin." Lena felt the words settle into her bones, heavier than gravity, more real than breath. She had expected gratitude, maybe, or forgiveness, but this was something else entirely. This was acceptance. The song changed, becoming something new. The eldest began to teach her, note by note, the true grief song. Not the simple version she had invented, but the complete ritual. It took hours. Lena's throat grew raw, her body exhausted, but she kept singing. This was important. This mattered. When it was finished, the eldest looked at her with something like pride. You learn quickly. Your voice is strange but true. The young ones are fortunate to have found you. What happens now? Lena asked. The company won't stop hunting us. They'll send more ships, bigger ones. Let them come. We have been running for 1,000 years. We are tired of running. You'll fight? No. We will show them what we are, what they are destroying with their greed. The eldest stood, wings spreading wide. We will broadcast our history, our songs, our story. Every human in every system will see what happened in that cave. They will see what their corporations do in the name of progress. They might not care, some won't, but some will, and those some will be enough. Owen appeared at the entrance to the garden. Lena, you need to see this. She followed him to a chamber filled with screens showing human news feeds. Every single one was showing the same thing. Footage from the Ark, from Haven Station, from the confrontation. The dragons had released everything. A reporter's voice came through. In a shocking revelation, evidence has emerged showing that Stellar Mining Group's operations on Driven 7 resulted in the deaths of multiple intelligent beings. The creatures, tentatively called dragons by the researcher who discovered them, appear to possess language, culture, and complex emotional capabilities. Another screen showed Director Calloway's face, pale and angry. These allegations are completely unfounded. We followed all proper protocols. Then explain this. The screen cut to footage from the cave. The dead adult dragons. The mourning young. Lena's voice singing her simple lullaby. River looking up at her with those gold eyes. The researcher in question, Dr. Lena Wright, is wanted for theft of corporate property. She is considered dangerous. Dangerous to who? Another reporter challenged. The company that wanted to vivisect sentient beings. Dr. Wright is a hero. She saved 6 children from torture. The feeds erupted into argument. Some defended the company, citing profit and progress. Others demanded accountability, justice, change. But everyone was talking. Everyone was seeing. It's working, Owen said quietly. They can't hide it anymore. But Lena saw something else on one of the screens. A corporate battle fleet, massive and deadly, moving toward the Veil, toward them. Director Calloway had decided that if she couldn't have the dragons, no one would. They're coming, she said, and they're not here to talk. The eldest appeared beside her, moving silently despite its size. We know. We have always known this moment would come, when we must choose between fleeing again or standing for what we are. Standing means fighting. You said you don't fight. We said we don't kill, but we can defend. We can protect. The eldest looked at the screens, and we can show them why violence fails. The fleet arrived 3 hours later. 20 ships, all armed with weapons designed to crack planets. Calloway's voice came through on every frequency. Surrender the specimens and the fugitive, or we will fire. The Ark didn't respond with words. Instead, it began to sing, not the gentle song from before. This was different. Deeper. Older. A song that spoke of stars being born and dying, of species rising and falling, of the eternal dance between creation and destruction. It wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror showing the fleet exactly what they were about to do. The ships hesitated. Lena could see it on the screens. Crews faltering, commanders uncertain. The song was reaching them, making them see. But Calloway wasn't listening. She gave the order to fire. Owen grabbed Lena's arm. We need to get to the escape pods. No, the eldest said calmly. Watch. The fleet fired everything. Missiles, energy weapons, kinetic rounds. Enough firepower to destroy a moon. It all converged on the Ark. A storm of violence that should have ended everything. The Ark's hull rippled. Then it absorbed the assault, every last bit of energy. The surface glowed brighter until Lena had to look away. When she looked back, the Ark was undamaged, untouched, and it was still singing. The song changed again, becoming something that Lena felt more than heard. It reached into the ships, into the hearts of everyone there. It showed them what they were destroying. It showed them what they could be instead. One by one, the ships stopped firing. Crews refused orders. Captains cut communications with Calloway. They couldn't kill what they now understood. Director Calloway's ship fired alone, desperate and furious. The Ark song reached even her, but she shut it out, clinging to her rage. Her ship came closer, weapons charging for a final assault. Owen's ship, the Wandering Star, suddenly detached from the Ark. Lena watched in horror as Owen flew directly into the path of Calloway's weapons. "No," she screamed. The blast hit the Wandering Star dead on. The small ship exploded in a flash of light and debris. Lena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Owen was gone, dead because he saved them, dead because she had asked for help. River pressed against her, humming frantically. The other dragons joined, their song wrapping around her like arms. They were trying to comfort her, but nothing could reach through the grief. "There," the eldest said softly. "Look there." On the screen, something moved in the debris. A small pod, emergency thrusters firing. It spun wildly, damaged but intact. Owen had ejected at the last second. Lena collapsed, sobbing with relief. The Ark sent out smaller vessels to retrieve him. They brought him back unconscious but alive. Burns on his face and arms, ribs broken but alive. Calloway's ship hung alone in space now, abandoned by its fleet. Her voice came through, shaking with fury. "This isn't over. The company will hunt you forever. You'll never be safe." "No," the eldest replied, its voice reaching across all frequencies. "We will never be silent. That is different." The remaining ships retreated. The battle was over. Not won through violence, but through truth. Through showing humans what they had become and asking them to choose better. The Dragon Ark didn't pursue. It simply continued its song, broadcasting to every human system. The truth could not be hidden anymore. Lena stayed by Owen's side while he healed. The Ark's medical chambers were unlike anything human medicine could achieve. His injuries closed over days instead of months, bones knitting together through processes Lena didn't understand. When he finally woke up, his first words were, "Did it work?" "Yes," Lena said, squeezing his hand. "You magnificent idiot. In my defense, I didn't think the ship would explode that much. You flew into weapons fire. I flew into a chance to save everyone." "Different thing." He tried to sit up and winced. "How long was I out?" 5 days. Feel like 5 years? He looked around at the living walls, the growing plants. "This place is amazing. Also slightly terrifying." "That's accurate." River appeared in the doorway, now nearly full-grown. The dragon had doubled in size while Owen was unconscious, wings powerful enough to carry it through space. It looked at Owen with those gold eyes and hummed softly. "It's saying thank you," Lena translated, "for protecting its family." "Family?" Owen asked. "That's what we are now. Me, you, them, family." Owen was quiet for a moment. "I can think of worse families." 3 months passed. The dragons continued broadcasting their story, and humanity continued arguing about it. Some corporations fought back, claiming the footage was fake. Others admitted wrongdoing and promised reforms. Protests erupted on 100 worlds. Laws were proposed, ignored, proposed again. Change was slow, but it was happening. Lena and Owen received messages from every major government and corporation. Some threatened them. Some offered pardons in exchange for exclusive interviews. Some wanted to hire them to find more dragons. They ignored them all. Then one message came that they couldn't ignore. From the Interspecies Council, newly formed in response to the dragon crisis. They were creating a new organization dedicated to protecting endangered alien species. They wanted Lena to lead it. "You should do it," Owen said. They were sitting in the Ark's garden, watching River practice flying with the other young dragons. "You're good at this. Caring about things, making sure they survive. What about you?" "I'm good at flying ships and making bad decisions. Figure I can help with the first part, try to minimize the second." Lena smiled. "You make terrible decisions look good." "One of my many talents." They accepted the offer together. The Interspecies Conservation Corps. Its mission was simple: document, protect, preserve. Make sure humanity never again destroyed a species through ignorance or greed. It wasn't enough. Nothing could bring back the dead, but it was something. It was a start. 2 years later, Lena stood on a distant world, watching a herd of 6-legged creatures that sang to the moons. They were endangered, down to a few hundred individuals. But now they were protected. Now they were documented. Now humanity knew what it would lose if they disappeared. Owen worked nearby, setting up monitoring equipment. They had a team now. Scientists and volunteers from a dozen species, humans learning to see beyond themselves, learning to listen. Lena's communicator chimed. A private channel. She accepted it, and the eldest voice filled her mind. Singer, the young ones wish to see you. Will you come? Always. The dragon arc appeared a day later, emerging from the veil like a memory made solid. Lena went aboard and found River waiting for her. The dragon was fully grown now, magnificent and powerful. Its scales shimmered with colors that hadn't been there before, blue and purple and silver all at once. 5 other adult dragons stood with River, the siblings grown and strong. They hummed when they saw Lena, a harmony of greeting and joy. You've all grown so much, Lena said softly. River came forward, lowering its great head. Lena pressed her forehead against warm scales, and images flowed between them. River's memories of growth, of learning to fly among stars, of finding place and purpose, and something else, something new. 3 small shapes huddled behind River. Hatchlings, babies, the next generation. You have children, Lena whispered. River hummed, agreement, pride, and love in the sound. The hatchlings looked at Lena with gold eyes full of curiosity. They were beautiful, perfect, alive. They will need songs, River's voice said in Lena's mind. The dragon had learned to speak clearly now, thoughts as precise as words. Will you teach them? The grief song? All songs. Joy and sorrow, birth and death, they should know both. Know that the universe contains multitudes. The eldest appeared, moving slowly now. Age was catching up even with the ancient dragon. I am dying, singer. Soon I will need the grief song for myself. Will you sing it? Lena felt tears on her face. It would be an honor. No, it is my honor. To be witnessed by one who understands. The eldest settled onto the ground. I have lived 1,000 years. I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched the universe change. But I have never seen what you showed us. What's that? That one person's choice matters. That singing for 6 orphans can change the fate of nations. That compassion is not weakness, but the truest strength. The eldest's breath came slower now. Sing for me, little one. Help me find the dark with grace. Lena began the grief song, not the simple lullaby from the cave, but the complete ritual she had learned. Her voice wove with the eldest's fading hum, creating harmony between species, between worlds. River and the other dragons joined, their voices supporting both the dying and the living. Owen stood at the entrance, quiet and respectful. Mother Iris was there too, tears streaming down her weathered face. Other humans had come, the witnesses and helpers who had spent their lives protecting dragons. All of them singing together. This strange chorus of voices that should not fit but somehow did. The eldest's eyes closed. Its breath stopped. But its song continued for a moment longer, echoing in the chamber, in Lena's bones, in the space between heartbeats. Then silence. River moved forward and touched its head to the eldest's. The other dragons did the same. The hatchlings watched, learning what death meant, learning that grief was sacred, learning that nothing truly ends if it is remembered. Thank you, River said to Lena. You gave us back our songs. We give you back your hope. Lena looked at the 3 hatchlings, at their gold eyes full of future. She thought about all the other species out there waiting to be seen, to be heard, to be protected. She thought about Owen and Mother Iris and Neil and all the other humans who had chosen compassion over profit. Change was slow, but it was happening. One song at a time, one choice at a time, one person deciding that grief deserved witness, that life deserved protection, that the universe was better when we cared for things beyond ourselves. She knelt down, and the hatchlings came to her. They hummed uncertainly, learning their voices. Lena hummed back, teaching them. Not the grief song, not yet. They were too young for that. She taught them the lullaby instead, the simple human song that had started everything. The song of stars and sleep and peace. The song that said you are not alone, you are seen, you matter. The hatchlings learned quickly, their voices blending with hers. River watched with pride. The other adult dragons hummed their approval. And somewhere in the chambers of the living ship, seeds were being planted. Gardens were growing. New life was beginning. The future was uncertain. The corporations would fight back. Some humans would never understand, but others would. Others were already changing, already learning to see the universe as more than resources to be extracted. Lena sang with the dragons until her voice was raw and her heart was full. She sang for the dead, for the living, for the future waiting to be born. She sang because someone had to. She sang because it mattered. And in the darkness between stars, 6 orphaned dragons who had found family sang with her, their voices carrying hope across the void.